We're all looking forward to getting together again at EKKA, where country meets city. EKKA 2022, where we all get together again. Get tickets online now.
It is the final day at the EKKA, and I don't think my audio is going on. Let me just see what's going on. All right. Okay, well, either way, it is the final day at the EKKA, and I'm just going to keep going like I can assume everyone can hear me here as we get ready for our final game to be showcased at XP, and it is going to be some Assetto Corsa. That is sim racing, as we have a in-house showdown, I think is the best way to be putting that one. It is the UQ MotorClub taking on UQ Racing in a little bit of a one-on-one endurance race. Now, it'll be UQ MotorClub are in white, UQ Racing will be in blue. It's endurance because it's going to be an hour-long session, each team kind of doing what you would consider to be a relay race, as both sides will be forced to pit and change their drivers several times throughout the hour, where, well, the team that finishes in first place gets the trophy at the end of the race, but the driver who gets the fastest lap kind of is the winner overall. We will be looking to be going any moment, I believe, as apparently we're still in qualifying overtime, so hopefully we will be starting soon. And it doesn't look like the stream can hear me either, so yeah. Yeah, so 50 seconds until go time. We're just going to keep going as if, we're just going to keep going as if, we happen to be live at the moment, just in case the audio fixes itself and everything magically does start to work. So, hopefully, we will get ourselves going very, very soon. I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a headset swap, I think. Because it's sounding like this headset is the louder one of the two. Is that coming through a bit clearer now? Yep, there we go. All right, now you can hear me. Now we can talk about some sim racing that is about to be going down. UQ Racing, James H. in blue, Matt, he'll be in white, and we are underway as the timer has kicked off. Again, this is going to be a 1-hour endurance race between the two teams. In the end, the driver who gets the fastest lap will be crowned the individual winner. The team that, gets the most laps in and finishes further ahead will be the team winners, as it looks like James is driving, but Matt is still sitting still. Not sure what's going on there. But we can watch James just have a go around the track right now. Is that Matt coming out of the pits almost? I'm not too sure what. Yeah, it looks like they have to come out of the pit in this situation. Already behind, so I'm not sure we're getting a one-on-one race. Okay, so apparently I'm being told now that they are going to be doing a manual start to make things go for themselves. Look, nothing was explained to me. I was just told, ready, set, go, get on the mic, all right? And so that's what we have to do sometimes is this is the outlap. Warming up the tires, getting yourself on the grid. A unofficial, official start about to get underway for what is essentially going to be a grudge match. However, rules do remain the same. It is an endurance race in the sense that, we will be seeing our drivers be forced to come in pit, sort of change drivers throughout the extent of the race, and eventually one will come through and win it out. The track where we will be racing on is Laguna Seca, a relatively famous track from Northern California. If you know racing, you know the history of this track, and it's a good, I think, introduction track for these drivers. A lot of the track is fairly simple, except for this part right here, turn 8, the corkscrew. Can definitely get drivers out of short. It's a steep downhill section with a lot of speed that can be carried through, and often you can see drivers actually lose it into turn 10 right there just because of an awkward launch. Case in point. There we go. So thank you, Matt, for showcasing some of the things that can go wrong on this track. Turn 11, of course, the final turn, be going into the final straight. James, of course, has already paired himself there, as we should be up. Well, was about ready to go, but apparently we're just going to have a look at our drivers. Hopefully we'll get ourselves on to the grid before our drivers take away, because this first turn, I think, is going to be pivotal for our two drivers. Here we go, underway with the eChamps. UQ Racing versus UQ MotorClub, and it will be the MotorClub getting that pole position, well, getting the whole shot, I should say, through turn one first. However, it's the Andretti hairpin, where you're really going to try to keep that line. Both drivers going a little bit wide, trying to get a faster exit out, and definitely it looks as if it will be Matt who will be taking the lead through our first couple corners. Not too sure where James wound up. Already a little bit further behind. Going to be curious to see what that gap is. You can see them about half a straight back, already falling as Matt has that better launch. Starting to make their way up the hill. Turned towards 6, and I believe we are on the Rahal Straight already. Gearing ourselves up for our first attempt on the corkscrew. It should be coming around now as we watch. Now we get up the hill, my apologies. So, got a little ahead of myself. Figuring it out as we go. As over the hill comes Matt, and they got a little bit out of sorts actually on the approach, and that could open a doorway for James to make a bit of a comeback down through the corkscrew into a rainy curve, which will gear up towards turn 10, where we did see Matt lose it before on the outlap. This time, though, able to keep it clean and continue to sort of hold a lead as we make our way into the final turn before completing our first lap. This first lap, the time's not going to be as fast as what we're going to be coming to expect. As we were watching them warm up before, a lot of the times were around that 1 minute 27 mark. This time coming through, well, it says 4 minutes, but that's because we had that little bit of the setup. A 3-second gap, though, already established for Matt at the start of this race. Going to be quite happy with that. Obviously has a little bit of a cushion now, and we'll be looking to hold that lead. But as we do move into lap number 2, this is where the drivers can start looking to possibly put forth their fastest lap time. Fuel could be a little bit of an issue right now, but at that opposite end, the tires are going to be a lot fresher at this stage of the race, so we could be seeing some relatively faster times. Obviously, Matt being in front at the moment, again, has that little bit of leadway. James, though, is far enough back that I don't really see Matt getting in the way of James this time either. So we do make our way now up the hill, getting set up again for the infamous corkscrew, as it's not the straightest line being taken by Matt right now. A little squirmy, a little squiggly, still trying to use all the road on the approach. Will get themselves a little bit into the dirt, trying to hit those apexes as tight as possible without losing the car, and they will come through. A bit more speed than what we saw last time, I would have to think. Looking pretty solid on this car in white. As we make our way through our last couple turners, we'll see what type of time we will be getting. Now, you can see the arrows on the road. Those are the recommended racing lines. Our drivers probably won't be adhering too much to those, just because in this game you can sort of push the braking zones a little bit further than what the game might suggest, and sometimes, you know, it's better to take a little bit more road, get a little bit of that exit speed by not going as tight as the game might want you to. Either way, time's coming through, and you can see that 3-second gap has improved to 10. Matt pulling further away with this one right now. James looking to get themselves back in it, as we will be continuing to follow Matt right now as if we were sort of a passenger in on this one. Can't even see James behind at this stage. Now, the cars these two drivers are using is the BMW M3 GT2. It is equal car, equal performance to make everything as fair as possible. And from what I did see coming into this one, yes, it is manual gear shifting, but there is ABS. There is some traction control, so we're not really going to be seeing cars lock up. We shouldn't be seeing too many errant spins, in theory. Granted, you can still lose it quite easily on this track, so hopefully both of our drivers will be able to keep things on the straight and narrow. Once again, coming down through turn 8 into turn 9. Aim to take it relatively safe for the most part. Not a lot of wobble like what we saw last lap. This is looking pretty good at the moment for Matt, as they should be coming on through. Now, each team has about 3 or 4 drivers to get through, so we should be expecting to see the pits and the driver swaps. I would say at that 15-minute mark is when that will start to come through. So realistically, each driver will have about 4 or 5 laps to try and get something in now. Unfortunately, we don't have the fastest lap being displayed on the screen, so we can't really show what that is. I guess that's something that will be revealed at the end of the session, who was the one who was able to pull it off. But last time we went through that start-finish line, it was a 10-second lead in favor of the team in white. But we didn't even see a gap come up this time. Not too sure where James has wound up this stage of the races. Don't really know where they are. Yeah, so don't really know where James is at. We can take a look at the timetable. A 32-second gap right now between the two cars. That is actually quite massive. Granted, James did put forth a fastest sector 3. So that is going to be something to look out for right now. Currently, our fast laps, you can see a 130.5 and a 138.6. So a significant difference in the fastest lap between these two drivers as we do watch Matt coming through the corkscrew. Not quite as clean as what we saw in the previous go-around. Was a little bit wider, but a little bit faster as well as they continue to make their way through this lap. 30.9 through sector 2. Delta 6/10 up that previous best, so unless we see a fantastic third sector, it doesn't look like Matt will be improving on their time. And I think that has to do with a little bit wider, maybe a little bit more tire conservation coming through this lap around. Either way, they will cross it. And it's a 130.5, so they did make up the time. Purple sector 3, Matt somehow found, I believe that was 8/10 on that third sector, which is quite massive. But then they go off, and now they lose it. Matt coming off the road after putting forth their best lap time yet. Fortunately for them, they have a bit of time. As we jump over to James, we can kind of see where they're sitting at the moment. Not a very good delta, already 9 seconds up of what would have been, I believe that delta would be in relation to the best lap, so they're about a second behind their previous best. Fortunately for Matt, though, they're back on the road, so they're going to be making some leeway once more. Unfortunately for really both of our drivers at this stage, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to improve their times. That gap between the two teams has increased to 47 seconds, and starting to look a bit out of reach. I think what may have happened is James may have had a spinner, and we just didn't really catch that, which is a little bit unfortunate for James and for the UQ Racing team, as the MotorClub continuing to pull away. 46.1 through the first section coming through. Not really ideal for Matt in this one. 31.6 though in sector 2. Technically still making ground on James via technicality at this stage. As well, they're going to keep pulling further and further ahead, but this lap, when you've had a spin like that, when you have this sort of gap and this sort of lead, it's all about setting up that next one. Now, I don't know how much longer Matt necessarily has before we're going to have to see that driver swap as we do get ready to go. Here we go, starting that third lap right now. It's still 26.2 sector 3, which is pretty fast. Also, we got a hot lap coming from James, looking very good after the first 2 sectors. That delta already down by a lot of seconds. They just found 3 seconds, it looks like, on one corner. Again, we're not seeing that live. We're just kind of watching the table underneath to see what James is putting through right now. But there's a chance we could be seeing a new fastest lap. James maybe was taking it easy just to kind of set up a bit of a comeback right now. I'm going to be super curious to see what that third sector is going to give us, as we could be seeing a fast lap time. Oh, kind of lost it in sector 3. You can see a couple seconds faster than where our previous fastest laps has been. Still, though, improving the best lap by 6 seconds, cutting into that gap. A really good lap from James, as we are watching, still on board with Matt, coming up over the hill. Might actually get, well, a passenger seat view of this corkscrew where we can really see how steep this decline is. Oh, off the road. A little bit of a corner cut. Not sure the game would recognize that, though. And hey, it gave them a green sector 2, so there you go. Still 8/10 up from the previous best lap time. However, we do know that Matt has been able to find time in sector 3 in the past, but running it into the dirt, that's unfortunately kind of going to kill this lap before it does get finished. And with only 48 minutes left remaining in the session, I find it maybe one more chance for Matt to try and improve on that 130.591. Here we go, as we stay on board with Matt. Very delicate through turn 2. making their way up into turn number 3. It is a soft right-hander, gets a little loose with the entry. Doesn't quite hit that apex quite as tight as one would maybe necessarily like. However, that delta is remaining right on par with the best lap before. Now you have to punch it down this straight, moving up into turn 5, which again, kind of a moderate braking left-hander. You can get yourself really tight and maintain a lot of speed through this one before starting the small incline into the larger incline after turn number 6 right here. Again, you want to hit this as fast as possible because you've got a steep hill to just kind of muscle your way up and through. As you get yourself set up in for turn 7, it's a really light one, but turn 8 is that heavy braking, the corkscrew, as we do see Matt goes very wide into the first part, though was able to bring it back into part number 2, or 8A in this case, around Rainy Curve and into turn 10 down at the bottom of the hill. You want to keep as much of that momentum through here as possible. Very nicely done. This is actually looking like a decent lap at the moment for Matt. They had a couple little boo-boos, but either way, it's not going to be enough to beat their best lap, I think. They were 7/10 up. I don't see the improvement coming through this time. They will cross it. Yeah, wasn't able to improve. Lost a couple seconds in section 3. But I have been liking the gradual improvement we've been seeing from this driver, particularly in sector 2. James, though, has been cutting in a little bit into the lead. I mean, we're seeing more consistent times coming from James, who did have that rougher start. You can see it right there, just 4/10 off sector 1, 2/10 off sector 2. Had we been seeing these types of times at the start of the race, I do think our two drivers would be a little bit closer to each other, but because Matt just had a fantastic start and is actually putting together a really good lap right now, purple sector 1, Matt could be on for something special right here. As we do have a driver in the pit, it looks like we're seeing our first driver swap as James has come into the pit. We are seeing the swap come through, so here we go. Driver number 2 right now in the hot seat for UQ Racing. We're going to see what they're going to be able to bring into this one. I hope Matt isn't being called into the pit right now, because when you drop a purple sector 1, you're going to want to keep going on this as we do catch the end of Matt's lap right here. Oh no, into the dirt. All right, pull into the pits now. Oh no, don't slide past the pits. That's not what you want to do. We're facing the wrong way. We're doing donuts. A little bit of indecision, and yeah, no choice now. It looks like Matt is going to have to go for another one because, well, they spun right past that pit entryway. Oh, that's, after such a strong start to that lap as well, purpling sector 1, unfortunate. Now, Callum is in the driver's seat for UQ Racing, and I'm going to be excited to see if Callum is going to start to bridge that gap. Obviously, going through the pit, you lose about another 30 seconds as well. They were already about 50-55 seconds behind, so we're nearly in overlap territory had we not seen that spin before. Could be pretty fun, could be pretty funny, as we do see where we go from here. Not the greatest out lap initially at the moment for Callum. Still has to warm up those tires a little bit, still get into grip. It won't be till that second lap where we see something, or maybe Callum will get going a little bit sooner. Pardon me, purple sector 2 by about 2 seconds already. And even though this lap isn't definitely going to be, finding the best lap just yet, it is looking like Callum will be able to put together something special as they get ready to start their second lap in this race. For Matt, however, we're getting down the corkscrew once again, keeping it on the road. Not really hitting the apexes in the same fashion that we saw before, but will be setting themselves up for success through Sector 3. Hopefully, we'll be able to see them pull into the pits, and just over a minute gap between these two, but a purple Sector 3 coming from Callum as well tells me Callum is definitely going to be looking to start that comeback. Matt's day is done, however. They put in their laps. They currently hold the best lap at that 1:30.5. However, it's now time for the driver swap. So, Matt is in the pits as we go on board a little bit with Callum right now, who puts together a purple Sector 1, 33.2, already nearly second and a half underneath the gap on that best lap time. They're going to be on pace for a fast one. Meanwhile, Pipo, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. If someone on the team wants to come back here and correct me on it, feel free to do so. They're going to be coming out of the pits right now, and they're going to have to be playing, I think, a little bit of defense because Pipo, they're going to have to hold off Callum, who is absolutely screaming through the track right now. They could be improving that best lap time by up to 5 seconds. You can see that delta absolutely massive. I'm going to be super excited to see what kind of time we're going to get from Callum right now as they are coming through that final turn, I believe, just judging by how tight of a turn that Cam is on the steering wheel. We'll see what that is. It's getting a little bit dirty. Pineapple gets himself out on the track, and there we go. A new fastest lap time, 126.487. That gap brought down to 35, and unless Pineapple can, put forth similar times, this is going to be Callum's moment to really start to catch back up. I mean, with 42 minutes left in this race, plenty of time for Callum to get themselves and to get UQ Racing right back in the hunt. Around the corner we go. This is actually currently watching. Again, we're still watching Pineapple right now. Our autocam just really seems to like to stay on our driver in first. It's possible to. Yeah, unfortunately, I am not too familiar with the controls, so I can't really too certain how we bring up our driver in second. Moving right along, though, it is a purple Sector 3 for Pineapple after a green Sector 2. Granted, it was a out lap, so this isn't going to be getting the best lap time. However, if we're hitting personal best, if we're hitting purple sectors, this is already looking like a good situation, I would feel, for the UQ MotorClub. It looks as if their lead is going to be safe with their second driver for the time being, assuming nothing drastic does happen. Meanwhile, for Callum, their third lap, not quite as special as their second lap by the looks of things, as they do get themselves across the line. A purple Sector 3 for Callum, but it's also a purple Sector 1 for Pineapple, who has gone ahead 32.8. And they are already on a negative 2 second delta. That means they're on pace roughly for a minute 24 second lap, and that's only through the first sector. This could get worse before it gets better for UQ Racing with how fast Pineapple is attacking right now. Coming down through the corkscrew, you can see how aggressive he looks to take it. Green Sector 2, couldn't quite get the purple, but is still on a flying pace right now. I don't think we're going to be cracking 120 just yet, but we'll see how the third sector goes. What sort of top speeds we'll be getting. It actually looks like we're losing a little bit of time here in Sector 3. Coming set up for the final straight. It's going to be a best lap time. The question is by how much? No, it's not actually going to beat out the likes of Callum. Callum still holds on to 127.4. And what I have learned is, okay, we're learning myself that delta is relation to your personal best, not the lap best. I thought it was a lap best. Either way, a very strong lap, but if Callum continues to put forth, the type of lap times that we saw out of Callum on that lap number 2 for them, well, they might be able to gain about a second in a lap on the UQ MotorClub, and with a lot of time left, we could get ourselves a little bit closer at the tail end of it all. As we are looking at about a 29-second gap now between the two drivers, so it was about 36 before when we saw the swap come through. Callum has been making up some time as, a little bit wide, unfortunately, for the Motor Club, but they'll be right back on it. Callum's next lap, again, will be in the 126 range. It looks like it'll be about a 126.6 as we get a green Sector 2 following the corkscrew coming out of the UQ Motor Club. So they're still improving their time slowly but surely, yet Callum's is the driver at the pace right now. It's just a lot of work to be done. It was a very unfortunate start for UQ Racing, and they have a lot of ground to make up on despite a couple unforced errors realistically on both of these teams. Coming across that line though, another green sector right there, green Sector 3, 126.9. It's a new personal best, but still not the fastest lap of the session. However, that's the kind of pace that will continue to hold UQ Racing back, so looking all right from both these sides. Still 38 minutes to go. Still a lot of time in this race. Still a lot of time in this endurance. And it is endurance. I want to make that clear. It takes a lot of focus to kind of keep this going for roughly even 20 minutes, let alone an hour, which is why we are seeing, these driver swaps as they do keep their focus, keep maintained on this one right now. Getting a very wide right there, people. Will be losing some time on that one, and that's a bit unfortunate because it was a purple sector 1, but if we're going by laps, they're still actually shooting for a new PB. Both of our drivers shooting for that new personal best, as we do see a 126.47. It is an improvement technically coming out of Callum. However, we're also looking at improvement out of people as well. Purple sector 1, we're green in sector 2. Final straight. That delta looks good, but is it good enough for a new best lap of the session? I think it might just be a little bit short. 126.656, so not quite into that best lap time just yet. It's Callum. Again, not really putting forth that best time, but for the most part is going even. UQ Racing's got to do better than even, though. They've got to find ways to sort of take that lead as we just continue to watch our car in white run these laps. As we do come through, just one moment. If you don't mind me for one moment. Hello, side. Whoa, right off the road right there. That's a little bit awkward. Just excuse me for a brief moment as we're just going to try to figure out a little something, breaking the rules. Breaking the rules, breaking the fourth wall. I'm trying to figure out how to get through to the cameraman right now and let him know, hey, we do kind of want to watch Callum as well. As exciting as it has been to watch Paypal the entire time, I kind of want to see how to keep our eyes on both of our drivers here. I believe this should do it. No. Okay, never mind. That didn't work. Anyways, we tried. Look, I do want to watch Callum as well. Try to figure out how. Hopefully we'll be able to get there soon, but because, you know, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to see both drivers a little bit. As great as it is to only watch, you know, the UQ MotorClub just because they happen to be in the lead, I wanted to watch Callum and see what kind of laps they were kind of putting through as we are seeing people just pull further and further out in front. Purple sector 3 for the car in white as they continue to make their way now up the said hill. And there we go. There's our other driver. There's Callum, who has been putting forth the faster time. So hopefully they will be able to go and keep this one on it. That said, you know what's funny? We finally get on Callum, but we're going to jump back to our other driver, which we did already, yeah, because I feel like, again, the UQ MotorClub, they're on pace for a very fast time, already a second underneath their delta coming on the final straight. I think we're getting under 126, everybody, into the 125s. Do they get there? A 125.574, a screamer of a lap right there for the UQ MotorClub, and that takes first place on that fastest lap challenge. Do see. Just going to see how to bounce around in this. We're going to jump over to Callum once again as Callum is making their way up, down into, I believe that is turn number 2 at the moment. Nice long hairpin. Meanwhile, back over in first place. People just got that fastest lap. This next lap, not really making any ground, but not losing either. This is the exact kind of pace that you would hope to see right now, and if you can keep a consistent 125.5 moving forward, that is once again going to start to extend this lead back away from UQ Racing. They still are about 27 seconds out in front. If I am on UQ Racing at this stage, I almost want Callum to go that extra lap just so we can maybe get some wheel-to-wheel during an outlap from the UQ MotorClub. We'll see if that's going to be the case. I somehow doubt they're going to commit to that, because that would be something very, very different, as we do keep this one moving. Solo casting is like, this is, fun. We're enjoying it. We are enjoying watching this race. Oh, good looking delta right now coming from Callum, actually, as I believe we should be able to jump over to that. There we go. We do watch Callum making their way. Just finished a lap, was able to improve their time by half a second, got themselves to 1:26.096. All well and good. The problem is they're still half a second behind the fastest lap put by our leader right now. So people continuing on another great looking lap, or they were until they went off the track. Oh, it was a purple sector one. They were half a second down on their best lap, but unfortunately pushing it that little bit wide. And that's going to cost them what could have been potentially the fastest lap of the day. I believe that was on turn 7 where they found themselves going off. Taking a look. Actually, that may have been turn 6. Sorry, not turn 7, where they found themselves going off. Still, though, looking for the recovery. They'll come through eventually at the end on this one, and it'll all be well and good. So we do go back over to the likes of Callum right now. They're making their way down the hill just past the court through a purple sector 2. Half a second up. They're actually going to be looking for a new fastest lap right here. They get a bit wide, though, and a bit out of sorts, and into the pits it looks like we go. Callum, I believe, may be in the pit right now, as we can't really seem to find them on the road. That's a little bit strange. Either way, yep, it is a driver swap. So Callum is out, and the new driver is in. It's, whoa! That was a little bit rough for people. And that is such an unfortunate time to have the in-lap right now, because Callum was on pace to potentially take that fastest lap away. Christina, though, is now in the driver's seat for UQ Racing, and we will see what she will be able to do to get this team back in a good position, as another run off the road. Again, turn 6, proving very difficult right now for the Motor Club. Very wide. People could be looking to do a driver swap right now. We are halfway through this endurance. It's a 42-second lead currently for the team in white. However, they still have to pit again, so we'll see how they come through at the end of this. Do we pull into the pits? Yes, we do. Christina on that outlet. Obviously, Sector 1 is going to be a little bit of a bait. That 38.9, not indicative of the types of times we're going to be expecting to see from Christina, as we do watch her continue through that turn 6, where we saw people have a lot of trouble. Keeps it clean, however, and this is looking pretty good right now for UQ Racing. Elliott has stepped in for the Motor Club, by the way, so pit stop coming to its conclusion. Elliott going to make their way back out onto the track, and we'll see what kind of times Elliott will be able to bring out. It's such a comfortable lead right now for the Motor Club. They're going to be hoping that lead will continue. We're going to jump back over to Christina. Try to jump back over to Christina. Here we go. As they get ready to start their first lap proper. And you can see, they've actually made up a bit of time, it looks like, on that out lap. Either way, here comes Christina getting ready to start it up, getting a little bit of coaching as well down the main straight. Camera loves jumping back over to Motor Club. It loves this Motor Club, apparently. As they do make their way out at the moment. We are watching Elliott again, kind of finishing up their own hot lap. Says, whoa, into the dirt we go, but is able to right the ship, so gets back moving forward. Meanwhile, for Christina, trying to find Christina. Here we go. Oh no, that's not what we wanted to see from Christina. Apparently had a little bit of a spin, but they are able to right themselves. Unfortunately for UQ Racing, that's going to be costing them precious time that they did need, and it's also going to be hurting Christina's first proper lap. Elliott, meanwhile, yet to realistically get themselves going, only just making their way down the corkscrew now. So a couple more torches. It looks like Christina may have spun again. Yeah, Christina is in the dirt once more. And things are going bad to worse right now for the UQ Racing side. Oh, very unfortunate right there. It was a beautiful blue paint job, and now it's just totally ruined, all dusty and dirty, as we do see Elliott starting their lap. 1:26.5, the time they're going to be looking to beat, as Elliott takes a very wide entry into turn number 2 right there. So wide, in fact, that they go off wide, and now they're spinning at the same part where we just saw Christina spin. So interesting that we saw our last two drivers struggle in turn 6. These drivers we're seeing struggle a bit more in turn number 3, actually, and well, into turn 4, Elliott again. Very, very wide, just trying to stay on the road. They do keep it together. So jump back over to see how Christina is faring right now. Super slow through the corkscrew, but was able to get down it. And I think they're just kind of warming themselves up for what should be a hot lap. I have to imagine that's going to be the go right now for Christina, as they do get themselves ready. Back over to Elliott, charging up the hill at this stage of the race. We get to watch them sort of attack the most technical part of the track. Now both the drivers have already had spins, and Elliott really slowing down, maybe a little bit too slow on the entryway, but that's just so they can gun it down the corkscrew. They do get through. And now we're seeing, you know, a little bit cleaner lines on the tail end of it all. Gets a little wide, a little squirrely, but keeps it together nonetheless. And, well, Elliott winds up making it through the most difficult part of the track. Back on the other end of the field, though, Christina. Last time she went around these corners, there were some spins. This time around turns 3 and 4, keeping it on the road. So already looking better on lap number 3 for Christina, as they're making their way through. Actually, I want to stick with Christina for now. I don't really want to jump back just yet. 35.6 through sector 1. Not going to be challenging for the fastest lap of the race, but definitely it's going to be looking like her best lap so far, as gets a little bit wide. Brings it back. That will cost about 3/4 of a second. All well and good, though. You'd rather stay on the track than not at all, as we watch Christina now go down the corkscrew. Again, not necessarily gunning it. Actually takes it very, very tight. So tight, in fact, that you could say went off the road. But doesn't lose control of the car. That's all well and good, as, wow, slowing to a near stop right there. Christina just making sure nothing in the car is broken, as Elliott, a bit of oversteer, sends them into the dirt as well. Fortunately, they keep the car moving straight. We don't lose the rear of the vehicle, and all right, they're still going to be moving well and truly fine as they make their way up the hill. So, one of the great things about both these clubs is the varying skill sets that we see between, you know, some of these drivers. And some of these racers are new players to the game or to the sim in this regards, where others have been doing it a fair bit longer. And if anyone thinks, you know, oh, why are these drivers spinning out so much? Why are they struggling to control these cars? I thought you said, you know, ABS and traction control were on. Until you try these sims, you don't really understand how difficult they can actually be. So, yeah, then you throw into that, I'm not too sure how strong the force feedback is on these vehicles, as Elliott doing a little bit of a burnout on the main straight. I think having a little bit of fun right now. I would love to see Elliott slow it up to let Christina catch up. I don't really know how feasible that is, because the gap between the two is quite long, but it could be fun to get some wheel-to-wheel racing at some stage. We've passed the halfway point, so we're getting to the nitty-gritty of this entire race at this stage. We're going to stick with Christina as she again makes her way through the corkscrew. Last time we saw her completely cut corner 8A. This time, however, stays on the racing line, keeps that speed in through turn 9, as this is much more how you want to approach the track. So we're already seeing improvement from lap to lap from Christina in that regards. Elliott as well. Last time we saw the oversteer, this time keeping it on the track as well. So both of our drivers continuing to improve as they continue to race on in this one. A little bit of a water break. I get to have those, our drivers don't. So I want them to know, I know they can hear me, I want them to know I am savoring the water right now. It is cool, it is refreshing, and oh! Well, I think Elliott got a little bit too jealous, because they tried to pull off the side of the road to get some water themselves through that corkscrew. We knew someone was going to lose it eventually. Unfortunately for the Motor Club, it was Elliott. Not the worst way to lose it. I mean, kept it out of the wall, so some positives there, but It felt like only a matter of time before Elliott was going to send that car completely spinning. Unfortunate right there. And, well, they're back on the road. They're back going at full speed. This lap time, though, definitely not going to be one that's contending for the fastest lap of the day. As we jump back over to Christina right now to see how things are going on her end of the track. A lot more aggressive through what should be the faster part of the track in and of itself. Actually kept that speed despite going wide. Gearing herself up now for the corkscrew as well. She's been attacking it more and more confidently, it feels like, with each lap, but no! She copies Elliott and does the exact same thing. Oh, boy. Well, look. It was a matter of time before we started claiming some victims here at that infamous turn 8. Also, Elliott has somehow found themselves sideways as well. I believe that's in between turns... Is that in between turn 1 and 2? Or 2 and 3, sorry? Sure where Elliott is quite on the track. I'm trying to figure it out right now. Yeah, no, that was in between turns 3 and 4, actually. All right. A little bit awkward for Elliott, but back on the road, still moving along. It feels like when one of our drivers spin, the other decides to spin as well, just to keep things even between the two. An adverse form of sportsmanship, not one you would tend to expect. Either way, since these two drivers have come in, Elliott has made about a 15-second, actually, that would be more like a 25-second gap on Christina, so more consistency coming from Elliott despite all the confidence gone now going through the corkscrew. Last time Elliott attacked it, wound up spinning. This time takes it nice and slow just to make sure the car stays on the track, and I can't be too critical of that, although I would have loved to see more sending it out of the UQ MotorClub driver. Christina, at that same token, really hit these corners fast last time, went a little bit off the road. This time keeps it on the track as they make their way towards, well, through turn number 6 right now. Up Rahal Straight. Getting geared up again for their own next approach on the corkscrew. Last time, wound up going sideways as well. This time, how will Christina fare? Definitely a lot slower than what we saw before, but hey, the car's not spinning, so faster through that section is what it is right now. And what it is a very, well, more of a one-sided situation right now. Nearly a minute lead for UQ MotorClub. That would be Elliott in white, who is holding that lead for the time being. Coming up the road once again. We are getting closer to our next sort of driver swap, about 5 minutes away for these two before we move to our final drivers of the session. Hard to believe 40 minutes have already passed on this one. It feels like it's gone so quickly, but we are in our final third of the race. And Christina is starting to gain ground once again. Before it was a 53-second gap, we're right back down to a 45-seconder. Christina doing quite well for herself. It really feels like Christina is a bit more of a confident driver through some of those faster turns. Turn 4, 5, 6, even 10, and to a lesser extent, 11. Christina just has been attacking those corners a lot more faster and a lot more aggressively than Elliott. Oh, pardon me. And while that's resulted in a spin or two, as, I just saw Christina fighting with the car a bit. Looks like she was keeping it together, so there you go. But yeah, while that's resulted in the odd spin or two, I think if we were to go by race pace, Christina would be the faster driver, although that's a slower section 1 and a slower section 2. So maybe Elliott has just had more mistakes in recent times. I don't know. I didn't catch them if they were there. Either way, we are going to be seeing Elliott just kind of coming through our fast couple corners as well. We're about to put in another lap time. I imagine this is probably gearing up Elliott, though, for their final lap. With 18 and a half minutes remaining, you can get 2 in, assuming there's not a spin. Super curious who is going to be taking back onto the track for our white side. Who's going to be headed back on the track as well for the team in blue. Speaking of the team in blue, eyes on Christina right now as she's lost about 5 seconds on this lap, so it wasn't the strongest one for her, but still would like to finish the lap as strongly as possible. Was able to do so. Elliott, meanwhile, down through the corkscrew into turn number 10. A tight entry will mean they're a bit wide through the apex, but holding a lot of speed. Are they pulling into the pits? Yes, they are. Elliott has pulled into the pit. Elliott's race is done. Outside of that awkward spin at the start and that little bit of an oops moment through the corkscrew, it was a decent effort from Elliott. As they are passing things over to the next driver, it looks to be, well, the name will come up and then we'll know who's actually driving over on that side. But yeah, it is the final driver swap back over to Matt. And that will do it. Meanwhile, as they're actually warming the tires on their way out, is Christina going to be coming into the pits as well, or will Christina be going again? Christina is going for another lap, so can Christina actually make up some ground now and catch up to Matt, who's going to be relatively close up the track? Definitely a lot closer than what we've seen in a good long while. Now, you have to remember, Matt was the one who built this initial lead that does currently see the UQ MotorClub nearly 20 seconds ahead of Christina and UQ Racing before they go in for their next pit. So I think Matt definitely has the capabilities to bring this one home for UQMC as they stay with it. 16 and a half minutes to go. Christina should be looking to come into the pit, you'd have to think, on this lap and get that final stint going for UQ Racing. And then the chase is going to be on, and it has to be a massive chase. Nearly a minute behind, more likely than not, when Christina will come into the pits. That's going to be difficult. A tough ask, but not an impossible one, I think is the best way to put it. So here we go. You watch Matt coming on through. And oh no! Matt goes off the road! And those are the little mistakes that UQ Racing are going to have to capitalize on if they're going to come back into this race toward that exciting conclusion. Now, keep in mind, fastest lap is, you know, another sort of reward that's going to be given out today, and that's not held by Matt at the moment. So if Matt wants to get that position, they've got to be at a 125.5, and that is going to be very, very difficult, as I do believe Christina has come into the pits. We are seeing our final swap. Here we go. Get the headsets put on right now for UQ Racing. You are underway. It is now time for the chase down. And what a chase down it has to be. As we look to see right now, watching Matt just coming on through, making their way up the hill. All right, down that corkscrew. Matt still looking to maybe hopefully improve on the time. 3 seconds behind on the Delta already, though, so that's not going to be hitting any best lap anytime soon. As we're still waiting for that name swap, I believe it's going to come through any moment right now for the UQ Racing side. And so, because look, I was given the names of all the drivers, super excited to learn them, but then it was taken away from me. It is James H. currently driving for UQ Racing. And let's see how James is going at the moment. That is one of the most aggressive attempts through that corkscrew we've seen yet. They keep it together. Not quite as fast as Matt, though, is through that second section. Granted, this is still the outlap for James, and I do imagine we're going to be seeing some faster times as we get going now. Piapol still is the driver with the fastest lap overall. That 125.5. I think that's what James H. is going to be hunting for. And hey, if he can catch up to UQMC in the process, that's pretty well and good as well. But half a minute down, this team in blue, with 13 minutes remaining. Unless Matt makes an egregious error, I think Matt should have enough pace. Even if James is putting forward like track record times, Matt should be able to hold on with the pace that they have. So the big question will be whether or not Matt spins out, or whether or not either of these drivers is going to be able to take that best lap away from Piapol. As we do watch Matt continue to make their way through. That delta's not quite looking there, but no, the actual fast driver right now does happen to be coming through James H. As you can see, only 2/10 off their best lap that we've seen so far out of UQ Racing, which I believe was placed down by Callum. So James H. currently fighting with Callum right now as they continue to make their way down the hill and into the corkscrew. You can just tell how much more aggressive some of our more experienced drivers here attack that corkscrew compared to the slower approach that we are witnessing before from Elliott and from Christina. Either way, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a new lap record here from James on this go around, but there's still going to be more time to try and bring it back as we do watch James coming on through, and they will cross that line. Not the time they were looking to see. That gap still 30 seconds. Bit unfortunate for James that they weren't able to find it yet. With 12 minutes remaining though, average lap time about 1.5 minutes. I mean, we can do the math. That's about, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 laps, roughly, in theory, that you can get in, that you can try and put through. So I'd say about 7 realistic attempts to try and take that best lap away. Very doable, very plausible. See if they're going to be able to find it. You see Matt continuing. Hold that line, hold that lead. Very wide through some of the corners that we see right there. I believe that was turn number... It was very wide through turn number 10. I believe that was... Whoa! We got a spin! Matt has spun! Oh boy. How much time did Matt lose with that spin right there? That 29.6 seconds, that was kind of based on what we saw before. I think that could possibly lead to something right here. Obviously, you know, we'd still need another spin or two as we're just kind of looking right now at James coming through that start-finish where it stands. So James will be crossing there, and 16 seconds now. So because of that spin and just the general pace that we've been seeing, 14 seconds has been gained by UQ Racing on the UQ MotorClub. Oh boy, all right, another spin like that, and these final 10 minutes can get very spicy indeed. Already 3 seconds down on that delta as well. Matt not really finding a strong time. Meanwhile, for James, starting their next lap, they were in the negatives initially through this first section. James is actually putting forth a very fast lap right now. Might not be at Papayol's pace just yet. However, they are going even with that 126. Whoa! Almost lost it right there. And had we lost control, that would have been the end of this one. So they are going to be moving forwards as Matt will be coming through the last couple of corners. Coming in and... Oh, into the pits! Wait a minute. Why are we seeing a pit right now? This is desperation. It looks like the UQ MotorClub may have felt like that Matt couldn't hold it. So we're seeing a driver swap. I mean, when you include the fact that the gap was only about 15 seconds, I feel like this driver swap may actually cost, and it does actually cost the MotorClub the lead. James has pulled out in front. This extra pit stop means now we're getting the other chase down. It's going to be Papayol on the hunt. Yeah, that Matt name, that's a lie for the time being. We will fix it momentarily. And it was even an awkward exit coming out through. Now, do have, I believe it's James who is joining me right now for a little bit of commentary to just kind of explain. 8.5 minutes remaining right now. Is there a chance that the UQ MotorClub just threw away this win?
It could be. Well, good old James Hurst over here, he's pretty much our fastest driver in the sim.
Oh boy.
A lot of us haven't really driven in a sim before, so this is a pretty intense now. I think both teams have their best drivers on at the moment. So,
and it's only about a 1.5 second gap, and
yeah,
from
exactly.
a race that's mostly been, you know, at like 30, 35 second gaps. I do have to tap my hat off to the UQ MotorClub. I think they did this just to make it a bit more sporting of a final right now.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a dream situation for both these drivers, you know. 8 minutes remaining, a gap that's roughly under 2 seconds, so definitely within grasp. I expect these two drivers to really start pushing each other here.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make for some pretty good racing and definitely see a bit more wheel-to-wheel action here. It's going to be really nice.
I'm just going to try and turn that right in here. Mouth right there, sorry about that.
That's right.
But yeah, no, this is going to be, I think, a very fun conclusion. Now, you were hitting some laps on this track, and as you're saying, one of your first times in the sim. How much different is sort of that sim getup compared to driving, like, in real life?
So driving an actual car is definitely a bit different. You have a lot of feel about how fast you're going. In the sim, you can just look at the speedo. So you try and gauge about corners, where your braking point is, and what gear you should be in. But obviously, it's completely different to driving a regular car. You can't feel your roll pitch or how much G-force is going through you, or even have a sense of speed at all. So a lot of times, a lot of people will first get in the sim and just full speed up to right until the corner and go straight off.
Also, how are you finding the feedback?
The feedback's good on the steering. It definitely makes it more realistic, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So
it's a good thing. If you've ever tried to drive in a sim without feedback, I can tell you right now it's absolutely a good thing.
Good.
As we are watching these two, it looks like that gap actually has extended about half a second. As it's been interesting sort of to watch us, you know, obviously every driver has their own tendencies, and some of them are a bit faster through, like, you know, the faster turns. Other drivers were hitting that corkscrew a bit faster and making up time in that regards. When you look at these two drivers right now, where do you think it's better to have your strengths on a track like Laguna Seca?
I think just a knowledge of the track for our level of sporting that we're doing here is definitely a big plus. I went into today and did a bunch of practice rounds and try and really get a feel for the track. Knowing which corner you're coming up to is a big one. So these guys obviously have driven in the sim before and know the course pretty well, so they have the best opportunity to go as fast as possible.
Like, they're not missing any of the apexes. They're not going wide in any of the corners. When they get to that corkscrew, they're charging it like in third, fourth rear, as opposed to like the second gear that we saw some of you other drivers hitting it on that one. It is a lot of fun to watch it. Like, again, you do get the appreciation for what it feels like when you actually get in and of that sim in on itself. Haven't seen any chase in the gap right now. These two have been going very even in pace. I mean, you can see just 1/10 of a difference through section 1. What is Matt going to have to do to catch up to James right now? Because it looks like James...
And hasn't really missed many corners or anything, so, well, there it goes, as I say it.
Oh, first time commentary and immediately cast or curse your own team.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. We can only hope that it happens to the other team as well.
I mean, 5 minutes left. James was looking so cool, too. Like, he was keeping the delta the exact same, keeping that exact pace of Matt. That corkscrew, though, is so challenging. I mean, it's the turn that Laguna Seca is known for. Not too surprising that we've seen a couple drivers today spin out there. How are you like meant to approach that turn mentally?
I have no idea. First time I came up to it, I didn't know where it was going. So first few laps I had just came straight off the side. You have to come real wide into the first corner and really take the apex and just roll down the hill essentially. Yeah, otherwise you come straight off.
Like, I have to admit, just because most of the motorsports I follow is Formula One.
Yeah.
Laguna Seca, unfortunately, not a Formula One track because of that said course. So I was like just looking up on how drivers have approached it, and I don't know, my favorite approach that I've seen was just Romain Grosjean just full sending it, almost going airborne in like the last IndyCar race in 2021 that happened there.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping to see some of that this time around, but it didn't feel like anyone was really going to be going for it.
No, we're definitely not comfortable enough to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think it was like an inside move on Jimmy Johnson as well. It was a pretty,
it was
pretty special.
Yeah, fair enough.
Pretty crazy moment as we're going to watch Matt this time take it, and keeps it through. You can see that looked a little bit more conservative this time around than a couple of the other approaches. Looked a little bit slower through it, as I feel as if we've hit a little bit of an oops moment. Should hopefully fix that momentarily, but I can tell you all right now the current gap is about 8 seconds as we hit our final 3.5 minutes. And are we slowing down?
We're back on this one.
Yeah, okay, we are back going in. Also, it is not Matt. It should be worth noting that it is Piapol, who is currently driving for the UQ side, and he is also that fastest lap holder with a 125.5. 11-second gap now, so was sort of bridging that gap. And in a normal race, this is when you're saying, okay, it's kind of done, isn't it?
Yeah, normal racing, definitely professional car drivers are keeping gaps any gap more than 2 seconds is pretty much it's not catch-upable, and especially in Formula 1. So
yeah,
this kind of stuff, for us, it's a bit more exciting because the 11-second gap is still pretty close. But yeah, definitely professional drivers don't have that kind of gaps.
So I have to ask, actually, like, what kind of racing does, like, UQ Racing, and I guess if you know about, like, the UQ MotorClub, like, what sort of events do they sort of have, like, through the university?
Yeah, so we as UQ Racing, we don't actually run sims, and neither does Motoring Club. So we actually design and build cars. So we build our own race cars, and we compete in an event called Formula SAE, which is just an engineering challenge to uni students where you design and build race cars every year. Obviously, student drivers as well, like some of them like to get in the sim a bit, but some just race the car as it is. Motoring Club's just a society at the UQ where people who like cars can get together and talk about cars and stuff. So
okay,
neither of us really have sim racing as a fundamental part of our clubs, so that's why you're not seeing a very good.
I'm actually like super curious now about, like, you know, this the Formula. What was it called? It was
Formula
like
SAE.
Formula SAE. I'm super curious. What track do you like wind up then testing the cars on that you build?
Yeah, so we test out at Lakeside. For us, it really depends on which team you're looking at. So I know that QT also has a team, so does Griffith University. Those are the 3 Queensland teams. We go out at Lakeside to test, and every year the Australian competition's held down at Winton Raceway in Victoria.
Sick. And it's a national competition then?
It's a national competition, so all the Australian teams go to it, and we have a couple of teams from overseas as well that come along. So obviously it's a big engineering challenge. It's run all over the world. There are about 600 teams worldwide and 30 in Australia.
That sounds incredibly exciting. We'll come back to that perhaps in a bit, but we are hitting our final minute.
No worries.
When the timer hits 0, it doesn't immediately come to an end. You are, essentially it's the white flag, I believe, the one right before the end, and then you go through to the end following that. So one last chance for both these drivers to, at this stage, I would say, try to improve on that best lap time, although the sim does accommodate for tire wear. That is something that happens. So at this stage of the race, I feel like the tires are probably going to be a little bit worn out with the amount of spins and how long they've been pushing. So perhaps a little bit unlikely that we will see that as another little bit of a screen freeze as well, just to deny us that exciting conclusion.
Yeah, so definitely a tire wear is something to consider. You'll generally see slower lap times in the racing. So I think we selected the medium compound tire. So for an hour drive, it shouldn't be too bad for those tires. If we chose the softer ones, it'd be definitely playing into it.
Were you swapping the tires with every pit stop that you were making, though?
No, the pit stops were a bit not pit stoppy, so you just pull into the pit lane and put it in neutral, and the other guy.
So it wasn't like a proper endurance race where like everything, a bit of a refuel, bit of a tire swap.
No, it's just straight in.
Gotcha. I mean, speed endurance, I suppose, would be a better way to kind of put that.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, our race isn't too long that we need to worry about those kind of things.
Yeah. So I think the median compound would have been all right as, Piepole going a little bit wide, but is able to bring it back once again. Turn 6 has been a constant problem, it feels like, for a lot of people driving in this one. Is it just like a situation where you're just hitting it too fast coming into it right there, or?
Yeah, well, it's definitely one of the faster corners around the track, so a lot of people will try and really optimize that corner a lot. I was trying to head into it and go into 3rd gear, so it's one of the corners that you really can hit faster, and obviously sometimes you hit it too fast and you come a bit wide out of the exit.
Yeah, that said, though, as long as you keep it on the track, it doesn't look like too much time was lost most of the time. Either way, this race is coming to its end. Down the final straight, UQMC will get themselves the victory, and a little bit of a victory burnout as well. Not really burnout, more of a tail slide at the end. Yeah, fun little skate move. That said, Purple Sector 1. This was a pretty fast lap time for James H, and that is nearly enough to steal the fastest lap away. 3/10 off. Not quite there, however. So Piepole not only wins the race for UQ MotorClub, but gets the fastest lap as well. MotorClub wins this one out.
Yeah, fair play to them. They were definitely more consistent on the track than us. So well done to those guys, and good job to us as well, who put in a good effort.
I think it was a good effort both sides. And exactly, again, for, drivers who come in who've never really had that sim before, only get a couple hours to not only learn how the sim feels, but learn the track, learn the car, learn everything about it. the fact that there was only like a handful of spins, I think, is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, so do I. I think we did pretty well for the experience that we have in those sims. So I'm pretty proud of us and the UQ MotorClub guys.
All right, well, congratulations there as a bit of a handshake happening right now. Actually, if you don't mind, James, I might want to do a bit of a swap right now and have a chat with Callum, I believe.
This is Elliot.
Elliot.
No worries.
Yeah, names are hard. Elliot with me. Thank you, though, very much for joining me, James, and congratulations on a strong finish, but it's time to talk to our winner right now. Elliot got it done as a team effort.
Yeah, definitely a team effort, and I was dragging the team down there, but...
Look, we knew the corkscrew was going to claim a victim eventually. You happened to be lucky number one coming through right there.
Yeah.
Let's break down that moment before we start talking about the good things. What happened?
I mean, it's a really tough corner, and I was kind of braking too early for it, as you saw. So I was like, you know, stuff it. I'm gonna brake properly this time, and just overcooked it. And that's all it takes.
What I love about watching moments like that is you can, and I'm not saying this to rag on you. Again, you just won. Congratulations. But I love seeing how the next time you approach the same turn after spinning before.
Very cautious.
There's just so much more caution coming into it. But at the end of the day, you know, at that same token, Christina spun on the very same lap at that very same spot. So it did work out. The other big question I have in terms of strategy, that late pit stop, the extra pit stop to get, you know.
I mean, Matt had that little spin there, so we thought, you know, the time we're going to lose by putting Pierpol back in the car, Pierpol's going to make back up. So we put him back in to bring us home strong and make it a bit really more exciting at the end there.
Yeah, and it was close until, again, corkscrew claimed another victim.
Yeah.
But so, as I was talking before with James, again, sim racing isn't really something that the UQ MotorClub does. You guys are much more to discuss. I'm assuming you sort of build cars at the same token? Or
yeah,
at least
we're more of a social club, so everyone's sort of got their own cars, and we'll do meets and track days and things like that. So a lot of the guys in the club have actual race experience on the track, but obviously in cars nowhere near as fast as the ones we have on the simulator. So again, it's just a different ball game when you're on the sim.
How much crossover is there then between the two clubs? Because I feel like there should be a fair bit.
There is a fair bit, and obviously like competitions like this, we get together a fair amount to sort of friendly competition, if you like.
Yeah, well, it would be good to see them like harmonize. I almost would like to see a situation. This is just me spitballing ideas for future ideas, so I hope producers are listening. Almost put together like a little bit of a draft between the two where like you get the team captains sort of pick, okay, we want X, they want
Y.
I
mean, we sort of did that for today. We had a session where everyone, people in the club came to qualify, if you like, and we sort of picked our fastest people. So yeah, we had a sort of draft for today. But
and then I imagine during said draft, Pierpol, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, probably was, you know.
Yeah, he is a weapon on the simulator.
The blue chip driver that you wanted to pick up was able to grab that fastest lap time. How long do you know how long he's been on the sim? Do you know what type of games he plays, or is it?
I can't answer that, but I mean, on the night we all sort of went home at about 8:30, and I have it on good authority. Pierpol was there till almost midnight, so you know he's put in the hours, but. You know, it's paid off.
Was he providing coaching as well when you guys
Yeah, especially in the warm-up this morning. You know, I had him over my shoulder sort of walking me through the track. But, yeah, he's just on another level. Like, even my fastest lap, he was another 5 odd seconds down the road. So it's just the next level of speed.
Well, hopefully we do get to see another battle between people as well as James Hurst, I think, in the future. I think those two
very close to the
were
end,
very, very evenly matched, and I'd love to see those two go at it. Either way, congratulations once again. Anyone you'd like to thank? Any final words?
Just all the UQ MC and the UQ Esports people for having us today. Great load of fun.
It was a great lot of fun, and thank you again for joining us, and congratulations on your win, man.
Beautiful. Thank you.
For us, though, at the EKKA, unfortunately, it is time to kind of wrap things up. It's been an amazing week and a half, dare I say, between Farm Simulator, Rocket League, League of Legends, and some Assetto Corsa, not to mention all of the Fall Guys and Fortnite that's been happening in our free play area. It's been an absolute blast here. But we will be signing off for the final time. A big thank you to ZQ Racing, one of our sponsors, as well as EPOS and the Computer Alliance for helping provide a lot of the equipment that we've been using and performing on stage. As always, the EKKA, it's always a pivotal part of, you know, Queensland culture, dare I say. So to be here and be amongst it's been an absolute blast. So a big thank you to everyone who has come and checked us out. And until next year, we hope to be back. I hope to see some familiar faces once again, and have a great final day.
We're all looking forward to getting together again at EKKA, where country meets city. EKKA 2022, where we all get together again. Get tickets online now.